Have you ever heard the phrase, Africans are happier than us? Well, maybe apart from the ones that are literally starving to death and don't have access to clean water, there actually might be some truth to that. Thanks for taking the time to watch my series on a lesson in forgiveness and how forgiveness can make not just our own, but others around us lives better. Viewer participation is really encouraged. Please leave a comment, a question, a rebuttal, anything below in any of the YouTube videos or the Instagram posts, and I'll be personally reviewing all of these and answering them all in one final video. So I hope you don't mind. You're not gonna see my beautiful eyes gazing into the camera very often. I'm actually going to use this format to just read off a little phone I have here, because I didn't really enjoy the energy that I was exuding when I was trying to regurgitate what I was memorizing, because I've written a script, but I'm just gonna read from it instead, as I feel like it'll flow better. How can we determine that Africans or in general third world inhabitants are actually happier than us? Well, there are a few metrics we can go off. A simple metric would be to use the cases of attempted or successful suicides. Now, I'm not going to take a deep dive into the data, because even taking a cursory look is enough to spontaneously spawn a rabbit hole that's so deep that even your mama can fall into it. So, even though life is easiest in first world countries, they seem to still be represented very well in the amount of deaths that occur due to suicide. If you are an American between 18 and 34, then freak accidents are your biggest nightmare and your worst enemy. They're the number one reason for mortality in the US. However, your second arch nemesis is none other than yourself. It's been on my mind for quite some time, trying to figure out why, even though we have so much, it does so little to bring about peace of mind. Those false thoughts have recently resurfaced and took center stage as a high-profile suicide recently took place in the Twitch community. I didn't really know Reckful. I knew of him, I knew of the name, but even though he's a complete stranger, it hit relatively hard. I would have expected, mostly due to the fact that I've just started streaming Twitch. I mean, considering all the advantages we have in the Western world, we're really not doing a relatively good job at looking after each other's mental well-being. So why are we so sad in the Western world? I believe I have some answers as to why that is. So I'm going to focus on just one for this series. I've had the privilege of being able to grow up between two cultures, which has allowed me to gain certain insights that would have been really difficult to achieve otherwise. One thing I've found is that Westerns are far, far, far more likely, and I really mean more likely, to be bad at forgiving people. This is something that in my parents' culture is quite alien. People are so much better at essentially just letting transgressions go. One advantage is that it's much easier for your soul to be at rest when you're not constantly holding and bearing resentment towards others. Even if you aren't very spiritual, you would probably instinctively know that it's harder to be content while you're mad with someone. One disadvantage, however, is that this mentality can often lead people to become unaccountable for their actions, which can often sow the seeds of corruption. Now, Nigeria is a deeply corrupt place. You think police are bad in the UK and just downright detestable in the US? Then try having a police officer who looks like he came straight out of the military, touring wherever in some shithole garbage desert, pointing an automatic rifle at your car while you're driving past, simply because I was in the backseat filming one of the largest super churches in the world. And the reason I was doing it is because the church is owned by one of my dad's childhood friends. So it was interesting to get my own documentary of what it's all about. And it was really an incredible building compared to the landscape around it, which was just a shithole. And, like I was a bit annoyed with that, like being pulled over and having to delete my footage. And my mum, my uncle were also annoyed, but they were just able to let it go a lot faster, partly because it was my footage that was deleted, but also because they're used to that kind of thing and they just found it easy to find peace. But if you think of sin the worst of the corruption, then you really need to open your eyes, because we don't have it bad here or in the US. That's not real corruption. It's bad, we need to fix it, but it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing compared to what you can find out there. And I wouldn't have even wanted to find out like what somebody who was not used to encountering police like that would have tried to do. Probably would have gotten themselves killed. That's probably what would happen in this situation. It might seem like there would naturally be a trade-off between forgiving easily and mercilessly holding people accountable for their actions. Well, this seems to be the truth when letting these mentalities play out in large populations. I don't actually believe a trade-off is being made. This is a good example of a false dichotomy. It's not too clear to me how having a capacity to forgive should also reinforce people's bad behaviors and have to lead to corruption. So in this series, I want to talk briefly on why forgiveness is more important than it is often made out to be in discourse, while also promoting the idea that it can still maintain a strong sense of holding others and ourselves accountable for our actions. We're into the news, and we're going to take the energy levels up a little bit because I was kind of dying. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the whole forgiveness stuff, but it is a somber topic. Oh, well, it's not like this is anything to be happy about. Immunity to COVID-19 could be lost in as little as months. Oh, dude, that's a freaking disaster. People's antibodies at the 3-week peak of contracting the virus was at all-time high. After 3 months, only 17% of the people that they've tested had sufficiently high antibody levels, and some people had as little as 23-fold less than they had originally, and that is effectively nothing. That is no immunity. It's crystal clear that drunk people will not socially distance. So this actually came out the 5th of July. I wanted to include it in last week's episode, but I didn't have the time. Independence Day, US, woo, happy birthday to you. This is a 4th of July, super Saturday when all the pubs open. And as you can see, this is somewhere in London, Soho. That's just fucked. It's funny, it's like crystal clear drunk people will not socially distance. You think? Some places have to shut down. There are some naked people, happy drunks, angry drunks, fights and more fights. But in generally, they said that people were well behaved and stuff. And I just love this picture. Like, this guy here looks like he is fucked already. This is the face of a guy. You clearly see it's like, it's not like daytime, it's probably like evening-ish, probably like 6 p.m. That's what it looks like. But this guy has been drinking since probably 6 a.m. man. That guy looks fucked. Just look into his eyes. Shit. Oh. 3 workers flee quarantined farm. So even though there was an outbreak at a farm where 70 people tested positive for COVID-19, but there were actually 220 pickers on that farm, I believe, in total. Now, 3 of them weren't having any of that shit. They were like, I'm out of this bitch. I'm not hanging around these motherfuckers. I'm out. Later, bitch. And they just dipset out. Like, they were told to quarantine in place and they just GG'd out. And I would love to tell you more about this story, but I just found it funny, interesting, and fuck the times they want me to pay. Well, actually, I mean, fair enough. You have to monetize your content somehow. And yeah, I don't have any merch or anything. Yeah, donate. I don't have a Patreon. Yeah, I can't monetize myself. And come on, 3's the charm? No, 4's the charm. Here we go. So, tax us Abigail Disney among 83 millionaires begging for higher taxes for coronavirus relief. Like, to be honest, like, these motherfuckers, like, these assholes, these rich assholes. Now, I don't really have fin against rich people, but when rich people do stupid shit like this, I get pissed off. Like, we all know that this is just a pandering thing. It's like, oh, we're good people, we're just taking our money. So shut the fuck up. If you actually cared, you would have just given money to charity. You would have just quietly given money to charity. Like, people who claim, oh, well, I'm so worthy, like, tax us. Like, is another way of saying, oh, you know what, I'm probably doing pretty well, I can probably afford a tax, but tax my competitors. Like, they don't want to pay, tax them too. Millionaires for humanity. No, shut the hell up. I hate it when people do that. Just enjoy your wealth. Like, I'm not coming after it, but don't pretend to be the good people. And guess what? Ending it with a oh no, actually, we're not ending it with a coronavirus story. I actually found this super funny, this story. It just doesn't make sense. Size 12, Jacqueline Joseph Fury as she can't squeeze into Zara's large shorts. Oh dear, so this individual, I think in the article I actually read that she had a mental breakdown. They were being a bit facetious with that, but she had a Fury mental breakdown. She went on social media to complain that it's offensive sizing. Like, how dare I not fit into size 12s? And I don't really understand female sizing or anything, but I can imagine that someone might be like a size 12 in sort of their top and might be a bit bigger down there. They might just have a bigger ass. You know, fat doesn't get distributed equally among people. I've got a big ass, so I'll be one of those people. I can wear small t-shirts, but you know, if I wear something small down there, like, my balls are gonna pop out of one of the legs. It's not gonna be good. I don't want to fat shame anyone, but you can tell that she's got extra curves or weight to her that might be the reason why she can't fit in size 12 shorts. Maybe she hasn't seen a mirror. It's harsh, but come on. Hey, and welcome back to the personal update of what happened last week in my life. And not much happened last week apart from one significant event. So I've already tried to film me speaking about this event very quickly, and it just takes too long, and I've only got 5 minutes. So what I will do instead is that I will quickly show you the letter I sent to my flatmate, which was pretty much the end of like an interaction that's been building up to this for months, which is a bit of a weird thing to do. I have a flatmate and she's a bit eccentric over the top, talks a lot. I don't know why I talk a lot, but I talk a lot to a camera. Like, I don't actually talk a lot to people, apart from, like, I guess my closest friends and my family. Like, I'm actually somewhat a quiet, introverted person. Like, I guess I wouldn't really say hit it off, because I kind of found her annoying and she talked too much, but I put up with her. And I didn't think there's any need for me to really, I don't know, like, put boundaries in place. So for now, I'll see where it goes. And, like, throughout the months, like, she would do, like, annoying shit, like, go on rants. Like, I know I would go on, like, a monologue rant to a camera, but doing it to another person is really inconsiderate, unless you've established a relationship that you do that kind of thing. And she would do all that stuff, get heated and stuff, and, like, she would ask me to do a bunch of things, and I said, yeah, sure. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that you would do, actually, for other people, because it kind of deepens like the wonderful like friendship you would have. You would kind of do these things, so do that. But then, you know, through talking to someone, you get to know what interests they have. And I realized that we have certain similar interests. So then I asked to do some of that stuff. Since then, the friendship would become more beneficial to me. And she pretty much just said, "Nah, fuck it." And you know, that's fine. You can do that. You can tell people that you don't want to hang out with them in the way that they've suggested. But just know that if you're always requesting things from that person, and then when it comes time for them to request things for you, and you're like, then that person probably isn't going to want to hang around with you for much longer. And you're justified to decline them, but they're also equally as justified to just say, you know what, you're just not a person that's right for me. I'm just going to go my own way. And that's essentially what happened with this letter. It built up to the point that there was an event it was just a stupid little bit of drama. It's not really fit for talking about online. It was a stupid bit of drama, and I just had enough. So I just posted this letter to her, and like the fact that she rants at me all the time, like these long monologues, I thought that a letter that would take no more than a few minutes to read would be too much. Like I thought, you know what, it's closing things off, it'll be fine. Even though I probably had the right to be angry, had the right to like cut her off, had the right to do all these things, the only thing I really requested for was that she would leave me alone. She has a way of just invading your space, harassing you, and really pressuring you into talking with her, which is not cool. And I'm not sure if she intentionally does it, but like it's sort of gaslighting when you try to kind of make people feel bad, or attempt to make people feel bad for being quiet just because you're loud and you love to talk. So there's all these little things and little factors about her that I was just like, you know what, I've had enough. I'm just gonna take myself back. If I had lots of free time kicking about, then you know what, let her have some. Won't be the end of the world, but I'm super busy now. Like, probably gotta do about 70 or so hours of work, and then I have to bike 100 miles. So I'm literally gonna be eating, sleeping, pooping, and working. Since this will be the end of the episode, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you leave a comment down below, a question or rebuttal, anything to the main segment. I would pretty much like a user or viewer engagement. The videos aren't quite where I want it to be. I'm still figuring out the best way to do it, but yeah, I'm making progress. Anyway, thanks for now. Bye.